Well, hello there friends, and welcome to today's video where, hear me out, okay? It is currently around 8 p.m., which means it's been a rough 24 hours as of me filming this since the Grammys. More importantly, it's been 24 hours since Harry Styles won Album of the Year, and even more importantly, walked on stage and said things like this don't happen to people like him. And frankly, I have so many thoughts. They were quite literally exploding out of me last night. I could not sleep. I, in fact, spent like 30 minutes laying in bed mentally filming this video. So I decided tonight, instead of doing that, I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna rant at you. Now, before I continue, I want to give a big, bold warning. Everything I say here is just my opinion. Personally, I think Renaissance should have won, or at the very least, Kendrick Lamar. But unfortunately, that's not the world we got. However, music is subjective. That is great. It's on the mug over there. But also, we're not going to talk about Harry Styles' album. That's like very little of what I feel. Like, yes, I do think Beyonce should have won. At the end of the day, this is far from the first time an Album of the Year win has been of great disappointment to me. This isn't even the first, second, third, or fourth year in a row. So at this point, I've accepted it. That's not the part that I care about. The part I care about is Harry Styles as a human being who has spent his entire career commodifying queer culture, profiting off of queer culture while giving quite literally nothing back to the community. So that's entirely what I'm going to be complaining about tonight. And I have no notes for this video. My notes literally just say a paragraph number because that's how I track when I need to edit. There are no other notes for this video aside from that and one tweet that I'm going to read out at a later date because I think it is quite poignant. Alrighty, let's begin. So for those who are unaware, how do I want to phrase this? Harry Styles has been named a queer icon entirely by the straight community, to the extent that I have asked in the past 24 hours several of my other queer friends, as well as being a gay man myself, and we have all come to the consensus, around 10 of us, so of the 10 of us, 2 of which are actual, like, Harry Styles fans, like, they went to his concerts when he was just on tour, and we've all come to the consensus that man is a queerbaiter. Every single gay person, every single queer person I have spoken to about Harry Styles is all in agreement that that man is not a member of our community. He does not actually bring anything to our community. All he really does is profit. And I thought about this today. I was talking to one of my friends on the phone because we talk during my lunch break every day. And we were talking about Harry Styles. And I was telling her, she was like, Harry Styles just likes to take advantage of the queer people and likes to pretend to be a queer person. And I said, no. Here's how I'm going to describe what Harry Styles does. Harry Styles wears queerness as a costume. Harry Styles wears queerness as a costume in the sense that he will go home at night and take it off. Whereas, I don't know about the other queer people in the room, I'm the only one here, but you know what I mean. Where, like, I can't just go home and suddenly start fucking women. Like, that's not how it works. That's never gonna be me, because that's not who I am. And that's fine. I feel like the one thing that Harry Styles, and a lot of people in general need to accept, including me, it's fine to be a straight man. Like, me and the bestie fight about this all the time, because she is convinced that a lot of her faves aren't straight, and I'm just like, hunty, there's nothing wrong with being a straight man. If you're a respectable straight man, if you're not out here endangering people and you're using your privilege to help other people, there's nothing wrong with being a straight man. That's totally fine. And Harry Styles, there's nothing wrong with loving vaginas. There's nothing wrong with it. Personally, they terrify me, but that's a separate issue. We're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you and your commodification, I should say, of queer culture. So here's how I want to approach this, because I've had this thought for a very long time now. Now, I'm going to take Harry Styles, right? I want to compare him to 2 other artists, okay? I'm going to compare him to 2 other artists who I once saw. I will never forget the day. I think it was like Bi Visibility Day or something. It was some day where some Twitter account tweeted out this picture. I forget who the fourth person was. I think it was Miley Cyrus, but don't quote me on that. But it was artists who've come out as queer, but never dated someone of the same gender. And 3 of the artists were Harry Styles, Lady Gaga, and Cardi B. Now let's compare and contrast these artists for a minute, okay? Let's start with Cardi B. Now, in response to this article, if I recall correctly, Cardi B tweeted something about eating pussy before it was cool. I don't remember the exact tweet. I don't care enough to find it, but I do remember seeing her tweet about eating out women, which, okay, you do you, queen. But, like, my point is, Cardi B, whilst she was offended, I think it's a very interesting case because the difference in, at least if you ask me, between Cardi B and Harry Styles, Cardi B does not profit off the queer community to the extent Harry Styles does. Harry Styles' fan base, in spite of being largely straight women, to my understanding, very much benefits from his acts of queer costume, let's call them. Whereas Cardi B doesn't really do that. Cardi B, at least from my understanding of her fan base, which I have not looked into, I am not a marketing human. I don't know her actual audience. But from the people in my life who listen to Cardi B's fan base also tends to skew straighter. It tends to skew more male. But actually, no, I lied. A lot of my friends who listen to Cardi B are female. It tends to skew female, I've decided. But it tends to skew straighter, which to me is fine. Cardi B can openly identify as a bisexual woman who's never dated another woman publicly and has no intention of it. That's fine. Because Cardi B does not, to me, give someone who's trying to take advantage of the queer community. Now let's use my other example, Lady Gaga. Now, I was thinking about this last night, right? And I had the thought, if tomorrow, God forbid, if tomorrow the Supreme Court of the United States of America decided to overturn gay marriage and decided, nope, not allowed, all the gay people have to get divorced, you may no longer be married. I truly believe Lady Gaga would be one of the first people tweeting. Lady Gaga would be using her influence over literally hundreds of millions of people and her endless wealth to try and fix that. Harry Styles, on the other hand, I fully believe would literally make a subtle tweet and move on with his day. Now let's use them as an actual point of comparison though, okay? Lady Gaga has been widely accepted by the queer community in spite of the fact she's never openly dated another woman. I feel like the difference is, again, Lady Gaga is going to fight for gay people. Lady Gaga is, for context, right? One of the most iconic moments in Lady Gaga's entire career is her meat dress. Do we remember what the meat dress was for? It was for gays in the military. Harry Styles considers his same levels of representation to be waving a flag at a concert. I'm sorry, I do not feel like I've benefited anything from you waving a flag at your concerts and wearing a dress. Like, to be fair, I have zero intention of ever joining the military. I don't think they'd take me. I'm in terrible shape. But even if I did join, the knowledge that I have people out there fighting for me would be a comfort to me. Harry Styles waving a flag at a concert in a room of people that clearly would accept queer people because they're hailing him as a queer icon clearly doesn't do very much. Like, what does it actually do? Now let's get back to the catalyst of this video, Mr. Styles and his statements upon winning Album of the Year over Renaissance. Now, Harry Styles, for those who don't know, I already said it, but I'll repeat it. Harry Styles walked on that stage, held up that Grammy for Album of the Year, and said, "This doesn't happen very often to people like me." Now, I've not done any research for this because I frankly cannot be bothered. I don't care. What I can tell you with absolute certainty is that if I were to tally up the list of winners of Album of the Year, I would argue the vast majority of them would be cisgendered white men. And even if we don't take into account whether or not you believe Harry Styles is queer, I think I've made my stance quite known in this video, but let's take that out of account. Harry Styles is not objectively, conventionally attractive, cisgendered, skinny white man. He beat out several people of color, one of whom is known for being a larger woman and has been bullied viciously on the internet for it, and also one of whom released the best album of 2022. Now, for you to walk up on that stage and tell me this does not happen very often to people like you is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Because if it doesn't happen, for those who haven't seen it, Mike the Snare's iconic Grammy video, I'll link it in the description. Harry Styles, the Grammys were quite literally made for people like you. They were made for people who look like you. They were made for people like me. They were made for just white men. And that's the way it is. The fact that you won Album of the Year in spite of the fact that you are technically the first white man to win Album of the Year this decade, does not mean this does not happen often to people like you. This was not even your first win of the night, and this will probably not be your final Grammy of your career. In what world do you think that you were such a special, such a subjugated group that you should walk on that stage the same night as we had the first ever openly transgender woman winning a Grammy ever? That you were going to walk on that stage and say this doesn't happen very often to people like you, it's insanity to me. Okay, that brings us to the tweet that I want to read. I'm going to link the tweet in the description because frankly, I've been reading the replies to this tweet for like 10 minutes. I'm having the time of my life. But more importantly, here's the context, okay? Person A tweeted out something along the lines of, I thought queer people would be the first ones to catch the people like me line, but apparently not. Someone quote tweeted that and said, I'm going to read this tweet verbatim, okay? Beyonce openly thanking her gay uncle and the queer community, Kim Petras openly thanking Sophie and making her win about the trans community. Meanwhile, that man's proximity to queerness starts and ends with his ugly clothes in your fan theories. I couldn't have put it better myself. Before I wrap up, I just want to, how do I want to phrase this? I want to give some differences between Harry Styles and me. You're average gay man. You're average queer person, okay? Harry Styles has never dated a man, to my knowledge, at least not publicly. Now, as I said earlier, straight people have hailed him as a queer icon, and I'm just going to tell you a story really quick, okay? This is an actual interaction that happened between me and my sister around 3 or 4 months ago. Now, I was with some cousins, and one of my cousins said to me, oh, because Harry Styles, As It Was on the radio or something. I don't know. She heard the song, and she said to me, she was like, oh, the gays and the girls love Harry Styles, right? And I responded. I said, the girls definitely love Harry Styles. And she asked me, she's like, oh, like, what's the tea? Like, why don't the gay people love Harry Styles? So I started explaining to her. I said, in short, that man commodifies queer culture. He gives nothing back to the community, and a lot of us think it's just for show. And my sister turned to me without batting an eye and said, quote, well, he dated Louis, so it doesn't matter. I told her, wow, that's a very interesting response because, to my knowledge, Louis was actually quite offended by the insinuation that he and Harry Styles had ever hooked up because for those who recall, when Euphoria played a clip of, I don't know why I was about to call her Kat Denning, Barbie Ferreira's character writing Larry fan fiction, he was very offended. So I said, that's a very interesting response, insert sister's name, and that doesn't really make sense. And she said, no, like they were dating, it's fine. So I feel like that kind of just embodies everything. Harry Styles is the type of man that has been hailed as a queer icon by the non-queer community. He is the type of man that thinks it's representation for all of us to wear a dress and wave a flag. I'm not allowed to be who I am in vast parts of this planet. I am every day at risk of being attacked on the streets. I have had slurs hurled at me my entire life to the point that it doesn't hurt me anymore. Harry Styles gets to put on a shitty looking outfit, go on stage and win Album of the Year. Me and Harry Styles do not live in the same world. For you to tell me that Harry Styles is more of a queer icon than artists like Lady Gaga, like Lil Nas X, even to put him on that level is an insult to every queer person out there because he doesn't do anything for us. I will once again bring you to the tweet. That man's proximity to queerness starts and ends with fan theories and ugly outfits. There's nothing else I can really say beyond that. Anyway, yeah, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. I'm sorry my thought process is a train wreck just at all times. Like, I've made a handful of these videos before. I just really like making them where I just start talking and we end up where we end up because I had no notes for this video, but it was actually very cathartic to make. But yeah, there's probably going to be more of them. Until then, though, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to comment your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think. You can also like and subscribe if you want to or don't. I will be okay either way. You can also dislike if you want to. The Harry stands, if you find this video, feel free to tell me how incorrect I am because YouTube views it all as engagement. So you can dislike too. Totally fine. I will still be okay either way. Also, if you want to hear more from me, you can follow me on Twitter at @_albumreviews. I will link that in the description. And yeah, thank you again for watching. Bye!